Samsung Galaxy TriFold just destroyed every foldable phone. Imagine carrying a phone in your pocket, opening it once, and suddenly having a screen the size of a small tablet. Now imagine that same device folding in two places instead of one. That sounds like something from the future, but Samsung has actually made it real with the Galaxy Z TriFold. And this isn't just another foldable with a slightly bigger screen. Samsung's first TriFold is designed to completely change what we expect from a smartphone. When folded, it works like a premium phone with a 6.5-inch cover display. Open it up, and you get a massive 10-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X screen running at up to 120 Hz. Samsung describes it as a device that can transform from a smartphone into a portable workspace. And that's exactly why this phone has people asking one big question. Did Samsung just destroy the competition? And is this actually the future of smartphones? Let's start with the thing that immediately grabs your attention, the design. Traditional foldables have one hinge and two sections. The Galaxy Z TriFold takes that idea and adds another hinge, creating three sections that fold together. When completely unfolded, the device measures only around 3.9 to 4.2 millimeters at its thinnest points. Folded, however, it becomes about 12.9 millimeters thick and weighs around 309 grams. So yes, this is definitely heavier and thicker than a normal smartphone. But that's the trade-off for carrying a 10-inch display in your pocket. And honestly, that's where the TriFold becomes interesting. Instead of carrying a phone and tablet separately, Samsung is trying to give you both in one device. The cover screen gives you the normal smartphone experience when you don't need the big display, while unfolding the phone gives you a much larger workspace for everything from watching videos to editing photos, browsing the web, working with documents, or running multiple apps. And that huge display might be the biggest reason the TriFold feels different. Samsung gives you a 10-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X main screen with a 2160 by 1584 resolution and a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate. The cover display is 6.5 inches with a 2520 by 1080 resolution and also supports 120 Hz. In simple words, the outer screen is basically your regular phone, but the inner screen is where this device starts behaving like a tablet. Think about watching YouTube on a normal phone. It's fine. Now imagine opening the TriFold and getting a 10-inch screen without carrying another device. Or imagine opening a browser, having a document next to it, and keeping another app available for notes or messaging. That's where Samsung's TriFold could have a real advantage over traditional phones and even some conventional foldables. But here's where things get really interesting. Samsung isn't treating this as just a giant display. The TriFold is built around productivity. With that large screen, multitasking becomes much more practical. Instead of constantly switching between apps, you can use the extra space to keep more information visible at once. That's especially useful for people who travel, work remotely, edit content, manage social media, or simply like doing everything from one device. Samsung also includes Galaxy AI features such as Gemini Live, Writing Assist, Transcript Assist, and Generative Edit. So the idea isn't simply look how big the screen is. It's more like Samsung is asking, what if your phone could replace part of your tablet and laptop workflow? Performance is another area where the TriFold isn't playing around. Samsung equips it with the Snapdragon 8 Elite optimized for Galaxy devices, designed to handle demanding performance, graphics, multitasking, and on-device AI. And when you combine that processor with a 10-inch 120 Hz display, the potential is huge. You could be editing photos on the big screen, switching between several apps, watching high-resolution video, or running demanding applications without feeling like you're using a basic tablet. Samsung also offers the TriFold with 16 GB of RAM and 512 GB of storage in the configuration listed by Samsung. That's a serious amount of memory for a smartphone, especially one designed around multitasking. Then we get to the cameras, and Samsung clearly didn't want the TriFold to feel like a compromise. On the back, you get a triple camera setup with a 200MP main camera, a 12MP camera, and a 10MP camera. The main camera includes optical image stabilization, while the system supports up to 3x optical zoom and up to 30x digital zoom. And there's another interesting advantage here. When you're taking photos or videos, that enormous unfolded display gives you a much larger area for reviewing and editing your content. Samsung also includes generative edit tools, so the large screen isn't just useful for viewing photos, it can actually make editing more comfortable. For creators, that's a big deal. A phone that can shoot high-quality footage and then unfold into a much larger editing surface could be more useful than a traditional smartphone. Battery life is another important part of the story because powering a 10-inch 120 Hz display is not easy. Samsung gives the TriFold a 5,600 mAh battery, and Samsung specifications list up to 17 hours of wireless video playback. Of course, real-world battery life will depend heavily on how you're using the phone. Watching video on the cover display is one thing. Running multiple apps on the giant internal screen is another. But the larger battery shows that Samsung understands the TriFold has to deliver more than just an impressive design. If you're going to use this as your phone and tablet replacement, battery life becomes absolutely critical. Now let's talk about durability, because this is probably the biggest question hanging over any TriFold phone. 2 hinges mean 2 moving points instead of 1, and that sounds like an obvious weakness. Samsung says it has strengthened the hinges, glass, and frame, using titanium hinge housing, Armor Flex Hinge technology, Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on the cover screen, and Advanced Armor Aluminum for the frame. That's reassuring, but there is still a fundamental reality here. A complex folding device needs more careful handling than a regular smartphone. You're getting an incredible amount of technology into a very complicated design. So while Samsung has engineered the TriFold to improve durability, this isn't the kind of phone you casually toss onto a table without thinking about it. And then we reach the biggest problem: price. Samsung's US listing puts the Galaxy Z TriFold at $2,899. That's not normal flagship phone money. That's premium tech money. At that price, you're no longer asking whether the phone is impressive. Of course it's impressive. The real question becomes whether the extra flexibility is worth paying so much more. For someone who already owns a high-end phone and a tablet, the TriFold could look like an unnecessary luxury. But for someone who wants one device that can handle phone duties, entertainment, productivity, and tablet-style tasks, the equation becomes much more interesting. And this is where I think that destroyed every foldable part of our title needs a little context. The TriFold doesn't literally destroy every other foldable phone. In fact, traditional foldables can still make more sense for many people. They're lighter, simpler, and generally easier to use as everyday phones. Samsung's own 2026 Fold 8 lineup shows that conventional foldables are still evolving, with the Fold 8 focusing heavily on portability, performance, and multitasking. The TriFold is doing something different. It's not necessarily replacing the traditional foldable. It's pushing the idea further. And that's what makes this phone so important. The Galaxy Z TriFold may not be the perfect smartphone for everyone. It's expensive, it's heavier than a normal phone, and the complicated folding design naturally raises durability questions. But Samsung has demonstrated something that could become extremely important over the next few years. Your smartphone doesn't necessarily have to stay a smartphone. It can become a tablet when you need more space and return to a phone when you don't. So, is the Samsung Galaxy Z TriFold the future? Maybe not in exactly this form, but the concept absolutely feels like a preview of where smartphones could be heading. Samsung has taken the traditional foldable idea, added another hinge, added a massive 10-inch display, packed in flagship-level performance, a 200MP camera, a 5,600 mAh battery, and AI features, and created something that feels completely different from the phones we've been using for years. The biggest question now isn't whether Samsung can build a TriFold. They already did. The real question is whether Samsung can make this technology cheaper, thinner, lighter, and more accessible.